If you're looking for a new set of irons that hit the ball into the next county, look good, feel great and have a decent price point, the irons featured in today's video could solve all your golfing problems.
So these could arguably be the longest irons I have ever hit on this channel. Yes, they are strong lofted, and yes, there are compromises to make. And as a golfer, that's the question you need to ask yourself. What is it exactly you're looking for from your next set of irons? Because A, these are really good looking, they sound and feel really good, and yes, they go an incredibly long way, but they will come with a bit of a compromise. The numbers on screen are from an 8-iron, would you believe, 160 yards carry, and to put that in some kind of perspective, my standard 8-iron carries about 140, so we've just gained 20 yards in carry. We've got a nice ball speed, we've got a decent launch angle, we've got a decent peak height, and the number and the compromise that we're making is this spin number. But is that combination of all that put together really going to help you be a better golfer, and are these irons for you? Because spin number is only one part of an equation in terms of stopping a ball on the green, and it is one of the compromises we're looking at. But what these irons don't do is suffer in terms of launch and peak height. They also sound and feel exceptionally good, especially when we consider what type of iron category this actually falls into. That was, would you believe, longer, 163, and this time with an half-decent spin number. So the iron in question is in fact from Wilson. It's their new DynaPWR Irons, and there's two models within this range. There is the Max and there is the standard DynaPWR model, which we'll be looking at today. This is a really good looking iron, and arguably within the game improvement genre, I think really stands out as being one of the better looking models. And we really associate Wilson with forged irons. They're really top of the class when it comes to that kind of genre. But game improvement, this is hollow bodied iron. Yes, they're strong lofted, but first and foremost, they can often be overlooked because of the category they're put into. And I think this is an iron that would suit a heck of a lot of golfers. And yes, I've mentioned that word compromise already, but I think those compromises are minimal compared to the super performance that you get out of these things. So today I'm going to hit pitching wedge, 8-iron and 6-iron. I'm going to tell you what that gapping is like, what the performance is, and just how long of a absolute rocket and bomb that comes off the 6-iron, because believe me, these things go a heck of a long way. What does that mean to you as a golfer? Let's see what that does. 130 carry. That was actually one of the shorter of the pitching wedges, would you believe, that I've hit, because to be honest with you, it's been closer to 140 than 130, and that's one of the first problems and compromises that you have, because arguably that would mean at the lower end of the bag we've got quite a gap. If this is pitching wedge and it's 140 yards on average carry, then there's a lot of room to fill between that and maybe a 60, 70, 80 yard shot in the bag. So that's the first compromise, but then I'm going to jump to the other end of the bag and let's see what this 6-iron does. That's come out like an absolute rocket. 190 yard carry with a 6-iron, peak height of 78 and a launch angle of 15.6. That's important. That spin number does drop down to 3175, but that ball speed, 122 ball speed off 85 mile an hour club head speed. I always think the 7-iron is the best number to quote in terms of loft. The 7-iron is 28 degrees, so we know we're falling into that strong lofted category, and that's why at the beginning of this video I really did state that the thing that you need to be concerned with, if you're struggling with distance and that's your key goal, then this is the type of iron you need to look at. But what you've got to be wary of is when the launch angles start to drop and you're not able to launch the ball high enough, that becomes a counter-intuitive situation. And what I'm pleased to say so far with these Wilson irons is that both in the wedge, the 8-iron and the 6-iron, yes, they're overly long, but they're not compromising in terms of that launch angle and peak height. And that's where I think that combination might eradicate the low spin and still make these an option. But at 190 yard 6-iron is by far the longest 6-iron I've hit for quite some time. Right, if I can just interrupt this video for literally 10 seconds, we have just launched a new weekly newsletter for anybody who's interested in golf, anybody who's interested in this channel. There's a heck of a lot of information coming your way if you sign up and register for our newsletter on the website on screen now. It's free of charge, it comes to you once a week. and it keeps you updated with everything that's going on the channel, and a lot of discount codes and sort of benefits that you will receive by signing up. So I would encourage you, if you would, take a quick look. Link will be in the description below as well, and get signed up for our newsletter to keep in the loop. So before I go into all of those numbers and put a bit more analytics into that data, I just want your opinion first of all on this Wilson Dynapwr lineup. I also want to tell you about how much they cost, because they're in the region of £750 in the UK for the full set of irons. More details on screen for you now, and maybe a bit more accurate than I've just quoted. But either way, it puts them in a much more affordable position than a lot of the other brands right now. And I think what Wilson have done this year, and for the last few, to be honest with you, is produce a real good quality product at a more realistic price point for the end user. So I think they should be applauded for that. There's been no compromises in terms of the build. Like I said, sound and feel is really good for this type of product, and I think they look superb. Yes, you've got a thicker sole and also a thicker top line, again to be expected in this type of iron. That CG is a way back, and their help is in that launch number that we've seen, and so far that has proven to be very effective. But if they're in the bag, for me, I'm really happy with the irons I've got in the way they look, and that transfers to me always into a more pleasurable and enjoyable experience out on the golf course. As long as we can get some performance like this out of these irons and at this type of money, then I think Wilson have got themselves a real interesting product in their hands, or in their lineup rather, for 2025. One of the other potential issues and compromises would be the gapping, and it's not an issue, but I think there's perhaps a little bit of a broader gap than you might want, certainly from the numbers I've achieved. On average, pitching wedge, a 138 carry, incredibly long. My own pitching wedge, like I said, probably in and around the 120 mark, so everything seems to be almost like a 20-yard jump, which is hugely significant, and it's not really reflective in the loft difference. These are definitely flying off the face very, very fast indeed, but the launch angle is still good. The spin number at 6,000 revs is, to be honest with you, a reasonable enough number for me with wedge. People again will know, watch the channel regularly, my spin number is always low, particularly off the mat indoors, so that set of numbers wouldn't worry me, but it's probably close to my 8-iron number, and when you look at a 6,000 revs spin for my 8-iron, I'd consider that to be really good. So you've got to always put some, it's all relative. I need to find my 8-iron, and my 8-iron numbers were a 164 carry. So from a gapping perspective, in between there, we've got pitching wedge, we've jumped up to 8-iron, yeah, we've got a 9 in between, and I think there's going to be realistically a 15-yard-ish jump. So we're looking at a 159 iron, then up to 164 into the 8. Peak height with the 8-iron remained good, launch angle was good. Like all them things, the one thing I don't like, and people will argue is a real disappointing element, is that spin number. I'm not overly concerned. The ball speeds are ridiculous. And then we go down to the 6-iron, and we've got a 187 carry. So like I said, jumping from the 8, we've probably got a 7-iron in there, which is going to be in and around the sort of, I don't know, it's going to be a 175 carry, one would guess. What I like about the 6-iron, still launching relatively high. Peak height again, really good number. Spin dropping off the charts. If you flipped all that around and compared those numbers to a 4-iron, then you would say those numbers are all really, really good. So a 4-iron launching at 16.4 with a peak height of 83 and a spin number of 3,500 revs, everybody would be eulogizing as to what a good 4-iron this is. However, because it's classed as a 6-iron, because of the strong loft, and we all know what's going on with marketing, it looks like a dubious spin number. We've really got to push that to one side. The overall sort of look at these irons for me in an evaluation is that they are very, very hot off the face, but they're strong lofted. So this kind of, again, everything's relative. But what I really like about what they've done is there has been a launch angle and a peak height that has remained consistent in all the irons that I've tried, which means that even if you argue that the spin number is low, I still think the combination between all those numbers means that a ball is stopping on greens. The gapping is okay. You've got a problem down that bottom end of the bag, but I don't think you'd go any longer than a 6-iron anyway, so you've got plenty of room to have more wedges in the bag, but you will definitely need them. And the real positive for me, how good they look, how good they sound and feel, and the price point that they're in at. So, as ever, this is a data-led review. I really can't wait to get out on the golf course soon and test some of these out, because there's been some interesting products. But data tells a story. I hope you can learn something from that. If you are looking for distance, then this is definitely an iron for you this year to go out and try. Right, as ever, thank you for watching. I will see you all very, very soon.
Try to step aside.